Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I have my long promised epic book haul. Since I wasn't filming for a few years, but I was buying a great many books, I have many books to haul. And yeah, I've been talking about this on Instagram and Twitter a little bit, just because I was planning to do this video for the longest time. And the consensus was that people wanted one long haul, which I was down with when I was talking about 80 books that I had to haul. But I've since bought more books and continued buying more books, and I have about 150, so maybe 160 at this point books to haul, so this is not going to be a single video. That's not really possible unless I wanted to do this for like 6 straight hours, and I don't. So we're going to split this into 2 videos, possibly 3. It depends on how long they get and how lazy I am. We'll see how far I get today, because I don't really have a plan for what I'm hauling. I'm just gonna go through as much as I feel like getting through today, or until my camera dies, one of the two. I also have a tiny spleen who is alternating between running around and sleeping, so she may or may not make an appearance, and if you hear something skittering around on the floor, crashing into things, that would be the tiny floofy kitty. She's having a great time though, so we're letting her do her thing. But yeah, the arbitrary pile of books I held up for this video will be in this haul. I might even do them first since they're kind of like right here. But the actual books I have to haul are literally this entire bookcase right behind me. Not like the whole wide thing, but if you see, there's like the middle one. So I have this shelf, this shelf, this shelf, and then what's on the top that's actually out of the frame. And then I have like, what, 6 piles of books on the floor around me, which you can kind of see over here. I got a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and get started. There's no theme to any of this. These are all way out of order. Some of these I probably bought like 2 weeks ago, and some of them I probably bought 2 years ago, but we're getting into it. If I remember it was recommended for me by a booktuber, I would try to mention them and link them down below. I'm not gonna bother to try to find the video where they talked about the books again. It's been years, but I will try to remember. But again, this is like 1.5 to 2 years of books that I have to haul, so if I forget, I'm really sorry. But yeah, let's just get started. I don't remember where I got most of these. I don't remember why I got most of these. So we're just going through what I remember, what I know about these books, which is next to nothing. The first book, The Wild Princess by Mary Hart Perry. This is apparently a novel of Queen Victoria's defiant daughter. Historical fiction, Princess Louise, who was the wild one. She's proud and impetuous and fought the constraints placed on her and her brothers and sisters, and dreamed of becoming an artist, and married outside the privileged circle of European royals. I don't know. It seems like very romancy, very like historical fiction, royalty vibes, and it looks really good. I mean, I don't super go for like royalty historical fiction, but this one, I don't know. I like the cover. The cover is just like nice, and it kind of just like drew me in, and it seems interesting. So stoked to read this, as I am all of these at some point within the next like 15 to 20 years probably. By the time I read them, I'll be like, why the crap did I even buy this? I also got Persian Girls, a memoir by Naheed Rocklin. This is a tragic, touching story that tells me nothing. Oh, okay. So, skimming the inside flap is very helpful. This is a memoir about a girl who grew up in Iran. It's about her and her sister mostly. Her sister winds up marrying an abusive, controlling man, and basically as time goes on, her dreams and her life get smaller and smaller, and the main character, Naheed, or I guess not main character, the author, Naheed, basically narrowly escaped that fate and wound up in America. Honey, this seems unnecessary. I'm trying to film a video. Oh, they can see your ears. That's cute. Ah! But basically, she wound up on a different path from her sister, where her world was a lot more open. She had a lot more opportunity. And it's kind of about I guess the disparity of that and them possibly growing apart, and like, I don't know, it seemed really interesting. I also picked up P.S. I Love You by Cecilia Ahern. This I've read before many times. I basically just grabbed this because this is a book I gravitate towards every few years. I feel like rereading it, just like every 3 to 4 years. I just kind of get the vibe to pick this up. I read this for the first time in high school. It's about a woman, there's a movie based on this, it's very famous, that like destroys the book. But it's based on a woman whose husband died of, I think, cancer or some like long-term illness. And when he was dying, he sort of set up these letters and set up these things for her to do to help her like start moving on and like to live life after he died. Because like they had this whirlwind romance and were like very, I mean, they were married, you know, like they were in love. And it's really sad. Yeah, and he dies young, you know, like they're like 30 when this happens. And it's a really like sad, heartbreaking book, and really like also heartwarming. And I don't love her writing style. I think her writing style leaves a lot to be desired, but this is a book that like I do actively check out from the library every few years, so I kind of figured that like it'd be a nice one to have on my shelf. Girl at War by Sara Novic. This is set, it starts in 1991 in Croatia, the year that the Civil War breaks out across Yugoslavia, and her sense of safety starts to fray. Basically, it's about that and her being involved in the Civil War. And then 10 years later, she's in college in New York, and she decides to go back to back to Croatia to kind of confront her country's difficult history and the events that forever changed her family and the trajectory of her life. Yeah, it looked interesting. I don't know much about the Civil War, like, and by much I mean literally anything at all, so it was interesting to see a book that was kind of different, that was like, I haven't read anything set during this time before, and apparently this is her debut novel, but looked fascinating. The Ice Princess by Camilla Lackberg. I swear none of these I know a single thing about. Set in Scandinavia. Also, when I buy these from the store, I don't actually read the entire synopsis. Oh, there's a spleen. Hi, spleen. Oh, she's taking a nap. She's tired. We've been playing a lot because I was trying to tire her out so she wouldn't harass me when I was filming. Okay, biting is unnecessary. The Ice Princess. I said that. It's set in Scandinavia. The author is an international crime writing sensation. This is what happens when I don't actually read the backs of the books. So apparently this is a crime novel, which I didn't get that from the title, not gonna lie. Oh, an adult woman returns to her hometown in Sweden and finds her best friend commits suicide when she comes back, and she finds the body, and then one horrifying fact after another comes to life, ... So it just looks like a thriller. I don't know that I knew it was a thriller when I bought it, but that's fine. I like this cover. I think I thought it was more like, I don't know what I thought it was. But I don't know that I necessarily thought it was a thriller, and I should probably read the backs of books more. Honey, calm down. I also picked up Terrier by Tamora Pierce. This is the first in her, what's this series called? The Becca Cooper trilogy. God, she's being a demon over there. Like, she acts like I didn't run her around for 30 minutes before this video. But this I read before. This is definitely one of those books I've read many, many times and will continue to read. I own so many Tamora Pierce books. This I just hadn't ever picked up before. This is about, it's a high fantasy world. I really hope she's not ruining the video making all this noise. She's like doing flips in midair. This is a high fantasy world about a main character who's essentially a cop of the time. Well, they're not called cops, but you know. And she investigates crimes, and this book is about, like, she's investigating a serial killer who preys on poor children and tries to blackmail their families. I love this book. I give it 5 stars. I've read it several times. Like I said, I'll read it several more. I own the second book in the series, which I don't love quite as much, and I don't own the third, but I hate the third book, so I'll probably never own the third and just pretend that it's a duology forever. But it was high time that I pick up this book. The Rape of Nanking by Chang. This is another book I've read, but I actually didn't read it until after I'd bought it, so I feel like that's a step in the right direction. I bought this book and then read it. It's kind of what you're supposed to do, but like I never do. So this is a nonfiction book about the rape of Nanking. Essentially during World War II, when Japan invaded China, they basically committed genocide in this one city. I mean, like, also across like the Chinese countryside, but like killed hundreds of thousands of people in the city, and it's really, really horrifying. I gave it 4 stars. It was a really great book. My only complaint with this was that, which isn't really a complaint because it's what the author was trying to do, but it was kind of like a basic overview of what happened. It's like a real good like introductory book if it hits on a lot of topics, but it doesn't necessarily like focus on anything in specific or like kind of like delve deeper. It's kind of just like introducing you to all aspects of the subject, which never really my favorite thing, but like it's hard to blame a book for doing what it's set out to do. It was really, really good, really worthwhile, really horrifying though, and really, really graphic, like horrifyingly graphic, and I'm not a person who's usually super bothered by things like that. And there's also a whole section in the middle of pictures, which I maybe could have skipped. I usually look at the pictures for historical context in books like this, but they were a lot and really graphic and horrifying. So really, really worthwhile book though. If you think you can handle something like that, I definitely recommend it because it was really informative and really well done, and just like I loved it a lot. Kissing the Rain by Kevin Brooks. I don't know super much what this is about. Some dude living in the city. Actually, I don't know that it's a city. Some teenager, because this is YA. No one cares about him. He's a nobody. And then he witnesses a car chase and a murder, and suddenly everyone wants him to talk. Everyone wants to know like the truth and what he saw and whatever. I read a lot of Kevin Brooks. He published through Push. This is a Push book. He publishes through Push, I guess. Or he used to. I don't know if he still does. This might be an old book. But when I was a teenager, I really liked Push books. And I had several Kevin Brooks books. And I don't really remember much about them, but I did have like 4. And I kept reading them. So like I must have liked them. So I kind of just picked this up like nostalgia, like to see what I think of him today. I probably still own his books that I read back then. But yeah, I kind of just like, I saw it and I remembered it and I was like, oh, I want that. I want to return to my childhood, and yeah, hopefully I still like it. He wrote a bunch of things, none of which I remember, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like my kind of thing. Like this isn't the kind of YA I tend to gravitate towards now, but I don't know. I did at the time. Well, no, I don't think I did at the time either. I think he was always kind of like out of my comfort zone, but I liked him. So we'll see what I think of this one. Actually, as I say that, I was looking at the other pile of books, and I didn't buy one Kevin Brooks book. I bought 3. So I also have Lucas, which is covered in hair. Thank you, Splain. This is definitely your fault. Caitlin meets a boy named Lucas, and he's everything she wants to be: brave, honest, and free. And then the town turns on him. Spleen, come on. You know I'm trying to film. This one I actually might have read. His overtones of To Kill a Mockingbird. What? Okay. But yeah. Also apparently he's English, which I didn't know. But yes. I think I picked these up because I saw 3 of them and I was like, my childhood. And then yeah. And then the last one I got is Candy. Love is Dangerous. He's the boy from the right side of the tracks who falls for a girl named Candy, who I assume is from the wrong side of the tracks because she's got pink hair and has a stripper name. So yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I don't know. I just saw these Kevin Brooks books, which is very hard to say, and I wanted them. I don't know. There's no real good reason for that. And it's also concerning that this video is almost 20 minutes long in filming time, and I only made it through like 2 stacks of books that are on the floor. I'm concerned. Like, settle in for a 4-hour video for just part 1. Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly, based on the real-life story of a New York socialite who championed a group of concentration camp survivors known as the Rabbits. It's a debut novel about a Broadway actress, a Polish teenager, and a young doctor in Germany. One of them is sent to a concentration camp, one of them is a doctor in the Nazi regime, and then one of them is a Broadway actress. And I think it's just about how their lives intertwine. I guess that's the three of them on the cover. And I think it's partially post-war, or mostly post-war. I don't know, it says it starts in 1939, so we'll see. But I'm kind of a sucker for like World War II fiction, especially like when it focuses on women in different parts of the World War, like concentration camps, the front end, doctors, the activists, whatever. So it looks very interesting. Have you calmed down finally, little stream? Canada by Richard Ford. It's about Canada. His parents rob a North Dakota bank. I did not read the back of this at all. His parents rob a bank and get arrested, you know, as you do, and then his sister runs away to California, again, as you do, and a family friend sort of takes the main character to Canada, to Saskatchewan, and he lives life there, and it's a profound novel of boundaries traversed, innocence lost and reconciled, and the mysterious and consoling bonds of family. So, I don't know, it's apparently highly acclaimed. So, I was interested. Southland by Nina Revoyr. This is about a young woman who I think is in college. She's in law school. Her grandfather dies and he'd owned a store. I think, yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say a convenience store. It just says a store. And after he dies, she's trying to like fulfill some of the things in his will. And she discovers that 4 black teenagers were killed in that store. And the crime was like never solved, never reported. Like, I mean, because this was decades before, like no one cared. And I think she kind of takes it upon herself to kind of like try to figure out what happened and see what she can do decades after the fact. So it looked interesting, and also it had the same title as a cop show that I used to watch that wasn't that good, but that is probably a good like 70% of the reason that I picked up this book. Then I have a nice stack of books that all have the same theme. They're the, what are they called? The Dear America books. Are these all Dear America? Yes, these are all Dear America books. They're essentially middle grade historical fiction diaries that I've talked about on my channel before, but I kind of just decided I wanted some of them. And by some of them, I mean, I specifically bought these 4 because my favorite author wrote them. There's Kaiulani, the People's Princess. She was a Hawaiian princess in 1889, and I think near the fall of the Hawaiian monarchy. Written by Emerson White, which I love. I love that book. I don't know if I gave it 4 or 5 stars. The Diary of Margaret and Brody, who was on the Titanic. I gave this 5 stars. I think it's lovely. This is a lovely book. I think this is one that a lot of people have read. I'm always like, you do know my favorite author. You've never heard of The President's Daughter, but I guarantee you've read this book if you're like around my age. Because this is like one of the bigger Dear America books, I think. But yes, also by Emerson White. And then Duology, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? And the Journal of Patrick Seamus Flaherty about the Vietnam War. They're both from Boston. They both love the Red Sox, you know, as you do. Also by Emerson White. I love this one, but I'm not as fond of the war one. So that's just personal taste, I think. Not like any judgment on her writing. But yeah, those were all 4 by my favorite author, Emerson White, who wrote the President's Daughter series, which I love and talk about all the time on here. So I've kind of been going through collecting her books, and these 4 were just on the list of books I needed to collect. So I got them. And then I kind of just decided that I loved those books. I missed reading them because I did read them tons as a child. So when I was in thrift stores, I saw like a few more and picked them up. The Journal of Douglas Allen Deeds of the Donner Party. I don't know who wrote these because it doesn't say. Rodman Philbrick, I think, is the author of this. It's hard to find because like they don't list them on the cover, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, Rodman Philbrick wrote this one. The Girl Who Chased Away Sorrow, which I think is about the Trail of Tears. I probably read most of these, to be perfectly honest. Written by Ann Turner. This one I'm pretty sure I read. And I remember it just being like horrifically sad, you know, as the Trail of Tears was. It just like horrifying in general. And then the last one I got is Love Thy Neighbor, the Tory Diary of Prudence Emerson in 1774. So I think it's about American independence. Oh, this is also by Ann Turner. Oops. Yes, these two are by Ann Turner, which, very interesting, different books. But yeah, I was just kind of like vibing these. I don't want to collect them all. That would be a little bit ridiculous, and by a little bit ridiculous I mean hugely ridiculous, because if you know anything about this collection, there are like tons and tons and tons of books. But I would like to have a nice like collection of them on my shelf, because I did love them as a kid, and honestly like they hold up really well upon rereading. Like they're just like nice to reread, and they're kind of just like little comfort books for me, and like little like snippets of history. And genuinely as a child I learned so much history from them, because like you'll cover things in like broad strokes in school, like, and I mean I know like our education is very based in like racist ideologies and everything, but like even then like you do learn about the Trail of Tears and like the broad strokes, but there's something about having the details and like getting the very specific information of like, even though it's a fictional character and a fictional story, it gives you more of like a full picture on what it was really like, and like all of that. Like maybe not as much like historical context overall, but just such worthwhile books, because I did genuinely learn so much of them when I was a child. Best American Crime Writing, the 2004 edition. This was edited by Otto Pinsler and Thomas H. Cook. This is just one of the best American books, and it was true crime, and I was like, or not true crime, crime writing, and which I think is essentially just, it's gonna be, oh no. I mean, not oh no in a bad way, just oh, comma, no, it's not what I thought it was. Okay, this might be short stories. Some short stories. Some nonfiction. I don't know. I need to research these books before I buy them. I picked this up thinking it was journalism. It says true crime journalism. It does. I'm not that dumb. But it does say the 2003 edition had like short stories and stuff. I don't know, but it just, I like reading short pieces, whether it's like essays or journalism articles or like short stories, and it's crime writing, so I was interested in this regardless of if it's fiction or journalism. Children of Nazis by Tanya Krasniansky, translated by Molly Grogan. I didn't know it was translated. Again, I should probably look at these books at all when I buy them, and I don't. This is just, I think it focuses on like 8 descendants. Just kidding. But essentially it's just a nonfiction book about like 8 children of like notable Nazis. Like obviously not Hitler, but like I think Himmler and Göring and Mengele, you know, as well as like others. And it just like focuses on how they dealt with it and what happened to them after the war, and like what their thoughts were, and like etc etc etc, because it says like they dealt with it in very different ways, where some of them were like horrified and tried to atone for what their fathers did, and some of them were like true believers in the Nazi cause. So it just seemed interesting and different, and like I've not read a book on this topic before, which, you know, always kind of pulls me in. The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Jinoff. I don't know a single thing about this book. I think I just looked at the title and was like, sure, this looks like World War II historical fiction. Yeah, 3 women and a ring of female secret agents during World War II. I don't need to know anything else about this book, but I was just kind of down. I hate when titles are like in weird fonts and cursive, so like you can't even read them. Women in Sunlight by Frances Mays. I'm sure other people can read cursive, but I didn't ever learn. Why did I buy this book? There's no information about it. The story of 4 American strangers who bond in Italy and change their lives over the course of an exceptional year. That's all it says about this book. I've never heard of this before, so I don't really know why I bought it, but I did, so this one confuses me, but now I own it. The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I've never read his Dark Materials series. I read the first one. I read The Golden Compass. But I have owned them all in various forms over the years, but I decided I really like these editions, so I owned the first 2 in these, and then I saw the third one. I think this is the third one. It's either the third one or the second one. I assume 3 because it's thick. But yeah, I bought this because it was the right edition. I think I own a copy of this, or I might have unhauled it, or I need to unhaul it now. But yeah, now all my books match and I'm happy. It's been 30 minutes and I'm not even through the books on the floor. This is a problem. I have more of these on my shelf, but A Killing Frost, which is number 3 in the Tomorrow series by John Marsden. I should just pull the other ones off the shelf that I have to haul them all at the same time. I gotta go through the shelf anyway. A Killing Frost, The Night is for Hunting, number 6, and Burning for Revenge, number 5 of the Tomorrow series by John Marsden. There are 7 books. I think I own the other 4. I watched the movie. There was a movie based on these books. Just the first one, Tomorrow When the War Began. And I watched it because I was just in the mood for that kind of like trash movie, and it was really bad. But I wanted to read the book, so I read the first book from the library, and it was really bad. Which is not making sense as to why I hauled these. But essentially it's a dystopia where an unnamed North Korea, Asian country, invades Australia, and this group of 6 teenagers or something, they're out camping so they don't like get caught up in it all. And hello, spleen. Hello. So the first book is kind of just them camping and then realizing something bad has happened, and all their families are like in a concentration camp in the city center, and it was not good. It like focused way too much on the romance, and like I don't mean that like there can't be romance in dystopian books or when like teenagers are dealing with serious things. Like I'm not saying that at all. It's just that this thing had just happened, like days had gone by, and they were still like, how do we live, how do we eat, our parents are all locked up. And then there was just a lot of like many pages focused on the main character worrying if she was a slut because she kissed 2 guys in the same week. And I was like, this is not the priority right now. Like it makes more sense in a dystopian like the Hunger Games, where like this is their life, they're living in this world, like this has always been their life. Whereas in these books it was like really out of place. Like, okay, something traumatic happened 2 days ago, like you should kind of be worried on that, not like, oh no, I kissed 2 different guys in 1 week. But despite not liking the book, and I don't think I'm gonna like any of them, which is why it's taken me so long to collect them, because this was years and years ago, I wanted to see the overall trajectory of the story. Like I wanted to see where it went and what happened in this world, and like what happened. Like I was really just like, what happened here? What happens next? No place is safe, a battle they didn't choose, it's time to strike back. That's all out of order. But yeah, I've wanted, like, I know I won't like these books because I read the first one, I really didn't like it. I think I gave it 2 stars, but I'm just curious about the overall story, and I just want to like follow it, you know? Honey, did she just fall in your water bowl? She's just like special. But yeah, that's kind of why it took me so long to get them, because I just didn't want to like spend money buying these books when I could buy other books. But like it's been years and I've just been slowly collecting them, so I am like pretty stoked to have them. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I don't know that I really have to say more about this book, which I'm mostly just saying because I knew nothing about this book, but everyone apparently seems to love it. It's just one of those classics that everyone's just like, read it. And I don't want to read any like description of it, because when you read synopses of classics, they frequently just tell you the entire plot start to finish, and it's like, you can just describe this like a normal book. Like you don't have to spoil the entire story. So I'm gonna go in blind and I'll just read it and hopefully love it like everyone else does. But yeah, I think it's like dark and thrillery, the classic tale of romantic suspense. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked on this one. Trail of Broken Wings by Sejal Badani. A father with their father in a coma, 3 estranged sisters come together, each carrying deep wounds and dark secrets. Reminds me a little bit of this description of Kristen Hanna books, honestly. Which, like, I'm down, because Kristen Hanna books always sound like something I want to love and then don't. But it's basically their father falls into a coma, so it's about like 3 very different sisters connecting. This one's a photographer, so she's kind of been like out doing her own thing. One of them is wildly ambitious, and then one of them is like the ultimate suburban housewife. So, but it's about them and their mother, and like demons and buried secrets, and it sounds like a Kristen Hanna book, and I'm hoping just like better than a Kristen Hanna book. The Widow by Fiona Barton. This is the thriller, I think, or like thriller-esque. A woman's husband was accused of a crime. I don't know what crime, something really bad, I think, like murder or rape, and she stood by him. He dies, and now everyone's like, okay, now we can know the real story. And she's like, well, I could tell you the real story, but like, I can make people believe anything. So, thriller, twists and turns of an unimaginable crime. It's an electrifying debut thriller. So yeah, I don't know. I just pick up random thrillers sometimes. Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix. This is the first in the Shadow Children sequence, which I need to buy. I need to buy all these books. I think there are 6. No, there are 7. Sorry, there's 6 on the back, but they're not including the first one. I read this when I was a kid. I loved Margaret Peterson Haddix when I was a kid. She writes like middle grade books that are very like interesting. You can literally just see the light change when the cloud goes in front of the sun. But essentially in this world, there's a law against third children. Like, you're only allowed to have 2 children, and if you have a third, it will be killed. So they have to stay hidden, and this is about a boy who is the third child, I think. I'm like 98% sure that's what this book is about. I never read the whole series. I always wanted to, but it was one of those things where like, as a child, it was hard to navigate the library like that. Like when I was 10 and I didn't have the words to like explain to my mother that we could do this. I don't even know if the library had all the books. So it's just like, I never finished the series. I just read this book like 18 times. The Wrong Enemy, America in Afghanistan, 2001 to 2014 by Carlotta Gall. This is a nonfiction book it's by a journalist who was in Afghanistan for like a long time. I mean, like, she was stationed in Afghanistan starting in the 90s. She was there after 9/11. She was there for years, on and off. So I think it's just like, just her take on the war and her take what was going on. And it sounds interesting because it is one of those things that like, I grew up around it. So like, I definitely, like, I was 6 when it started, you know, so I definitely don't remember as much, or I don't understand it as fully for having like lived through the entire thing. And it just seemed like an interesting nonfiction book. The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This, I heard Elle from, she changed her channel name. Everything Elle, I think. This was one of her favorite books for the longest time, and she talked about this a lot. It's fantasy YA about fairies. I never read much fantasy YA about fairies because that was kind of like I remember when they were very popular, and I was just not into fantasy at that point, or fairies. But I don't know, I kind of saw this at Goodwill, and I was kind of just like down to pick it up and give it a try because it sounds like fun. Iron Ice, A Love Doom from the Start, The Iron Fae. It's the first in the trilogy, so I just figured I would pick it up and give it a go because, I don't know, she talks about how much she loves it. Okay, so that's all the books on my floor except for the one that Spleen is currently laying on, so we'll save that for the next video because we're not disturbing her now that she's finally calmed down. So I'm gonna grab like a handful of books from my shelf and we're just gonna go through those, and the shelf might start to empty, kind of. After this stack, I might start to like maybe save more of these for the next video because this is getting long. I might hit like an hour and then kind of give up because like my voice is giving out. My throat is sore. Like, I've just been talking and talking and talking. Why did I buy so many books? Like, why did I do this to myself? A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Everyone talked about this for the longest time. It's about a boy dealing with grief. I think his mother died and like there's a monster that like helps him. I don't know, but everyone talked about this for the longest time, so I wanted to read it, and I've never read Patrick Ness before. The Boxcar Children. This is a very beat up, sad book. Hello, you come to hang out? She's very sweet, even if she just wants to murder me. This is the first one, which is why I got it. Because I liked the Boxcar Children when I was a child, but it wasn't one of those series that I want to like own all the books, but I would kind of be down to own the first one because it really took me like forever to read the first book. Just because like, again, navigating the library like that as a child was difficult and I just like couldn't. So it took me like it was like if it wasn't on the library's literal shelf when I went in, it didn't exist to me. So a lot of these hauls are just like murder, me trying to like relive my childhood. I mean, I have read this one before, but just because it's the first one, I would like to reread it, and I would like to just have it for my shelf. The Pilot's Wife by Anita Shreve. Is this? Okay, so she's a pilot's wife, and it's essentially, she's told to be prepared for like being told that he could die because this is dangerous. Then his plane explodes and she's like, oh no, I really wasn't prepared for this at all. And I think she finds out that like he had secrets and wasn't really who he said he was, as like always tends to happen in these books. So yeah, it looks interesting. Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress by Dai Ciji. This is an enchanting tale about the magic of reading and the wonder of romantic awakening. It's about two city boys during China's cultural revolution. They're sent to a remote mountain village for re-education, and basically there's a seamstress there who has like a hidden stash of like Western classics which they read during their like supposed re-education, and the seamstress they like flirt with. I think one of them falls in love or something, or they both do, I don't know, but it looked really interesting. So I'm saying that about all these books. I need to find a new word. I'll just use fascinating for the rest of the stack instead of saying interesting, because that makes a difference. Breath, Eyes, Memory, I can't speak anymore, by Edwidge Dantica. I read, what did I read before by her? I read her nonfiction book about her father. I forget what it was called, but it was really good. But this one I've wanted to read for a long time, and I just like haven't had this book, you know. I have Crick Crag. Honey, why are you just, she's so silly. But yeah, I really like her writing style. I read one of her short stories when I was in college and really liked it. And she's from Haiti. She writes a lot about Haiti and about like immigrating from Haiti. Like this book's about a girl who comes from Haiti to New York to be reunited with her mother, who came to New York years before, so she doesn't really remember her mother anymore. And it sounds really interesting. When that book fell, I thought I was going to die. I meant to say fascinating there, I'm sorry. The Marriage Plot by Jeffrey Eugenides. He's kind of trash, I think, at this point. That's pretty, I think most people agree on that. This is his newest novel, but I do really like Middlesex and the Virgin Suicides, and I just wanted to read this, and at least if I get it used, I'm not supporting him. I don't know what this is about. I don't really care. I just wanted to get it because I really loved his writing style. Oh, this one was an intentional buy. This wasn't like I found it in a thrift store. This was like I ordered it for myself online because I really wanted to own this book. Oh, now I'm forgetting who talked about it. Murder. This is Jesus. This is what she does. Also, sitting on the floor hurts. I'd sit in a chair, but then like if I'm in the chair, you can't actually see any of the shelves because like they end. Like this is the top shelf here. When I Hit You, or A Portrait of the Writer as a Young Wife by Mina Kandasamy. Mianacorn from the Bookish Land talked about this a couple of years ago in one of her list videos where she was going through like winners or like nominees for an award, and it sounded so good. I've wanted to read this forever, and I tried to buy it and it was like out of print because they were reprinting it because I don't think they expected it to be like so popular, because when it got like nominated for the award, it was a lot more popular for obvious reasons. This is about an Indian woman. She falls in love with a university professor, and then her husband's very violent and she finds herself socially isolated, and she becomes a writer, and like that's her like solace, I think is the right word. But I wanted to read this so bad, and I bought it like a year ago and I still haven't read it yet, which is my bad. But this, like the moment Mianacorn talked about it, I was like, I want to read that book, I want to get that book, and I finally did. So this was a very intentional purchase. Most of these are just like me picking up random books in the thrift store, but this was like I sought out this book and bought it new, which rarely if ever happens. Then I have two books by Courtney Summers because I love Courtney Summers. At least like I decided that I love Courtney Summers. I read All the Rage when it was popular a few years ago, And then I read Sadie when that came out. And then I read whatever her most recent book was that came out like earlier this year, last year. And I loved them all. I've given them all 5 stars. So I was like, I should buy more Courtney Summers. So I got Some Girls Are, which is climbing to the top of the social ladder is hard, falling from it is even harder. I think it's just like about like mean girls in the clique and high school being cliquey, and she's being frozen out and her ex-best friends are out for revenge, and I don't know. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing I would really read anymore, but because it's Courtney Summers, I was very down, because honestly it's her writing style more than the actual like stories themselves that I really find that I fall in love with. And then Fall for Anything, which is, it's about a girl whose father commits suicide. He was a legendary photographer, and I'm talking like I know anything about this book. That was just the next sentence on the back. Yeah, I didn't really research these. I was just like, I should pick up more from Courtney Summers. After Anna by Alex Lake. This is a thriller about a girl, her parents are beyond grief. She gets kidnapped, and then a week later she's returned and she has no memory. And I love books like that. Books where like the main character, or not the main character, but books like where a character comes back from a trauma and then they're dealing with like putting it back together. And specifically with kidnappings, I love when like a person comes back, you know, and then you're dealing with like not the kidnapping itself, but like the after effects of it. And I love that. This was recommended by Abby from, I think it's Abby of Palanor now. I know she talked about this book in like one list of her favorite books or something, but I tried to find it at the library and I couldn't, so I just went ahead and bought myself a copy because it sounded really, really good. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I already mentioned her briefly in this video. She's very hit or miss for me. I love Winter Garden. That was lovely, but I hated The Great Alone and True Colors. Hated is a strong word, but I was not a fan of either of those books. I didn't think they were very good. Like, I just think they were like poorly crafted stories. But this one sounds like something I might love. And based on what people say about reading this book and what they've said about her other books, I think there's a really good chance that I will love this one too, because she always writes books that like I think I'll love, and I feel like there are several Kristen Hanna books that are going to be favorites for me, like Winter Garden was, but it's just like there's also so much to get through that like I definitely won't enjoy of her books. This is what she does. She just like wants to murder me. Please give me my hand. I'm trying to film a video. She's acting like I haven't played with her at all today. I've just been ignoring her since this morning. Not like I literally played with her so she would be calm while I filmed, but I've been filming for like more than 45 minutes. So I guess at this point it's my fault. This is just gonna be the rest of the video probably. Eric Larson. Wait, no, that's not the title. Thunderstruck by Eric Larson. Non-fiction. It's about 2 men, an unlikely murderer, and the obsessive creator of a seemingly supernatural means of communication. Criminal cheat. I don't know anything about this book. I don't really care. I like Eric Larson's books, and this was one of the ones that I haven't read yet or purchased, so I just grabbed this book. The Fortress by S.A. Jones. This was gifted to me. I've actually already read this one too, so 2 books in this haul I've already read after purchasing. You done? Okay. No, she's not done. This is kind of, it was described as Handmaid's Tale-esque. I don't know why I'm reading the back like I haven't read this book. Essentially, they live in a world that's kind of similar to ours, but there's this fortress, this like a separate society that is ruled by women, and only women live there, except for like their servants, essentially, who are men. And men can like agree to go there for like an extended period of time, either men who are criminals or men who just like choose to. And this dude's wife was like, he worked for like a corporate company and someone got raped at one of his like corporate functions, and basically beyond that there was just a lot of like sexism, and his wife was like, hey, like unless you go here for like a 6-month period, we're breaking up and you're never going to see your daughter, who is my child. And so essentially he agrees to go, and the conditions are that he can't ask questions, he can't raise his hand in anger, and he can't refuse sex. And it's very interesting. I gave it 4 stars. I'm explaining it horribly, but essentially it deals a lot with like consent, but like the power dynamics of consent, because it starts with like he can't refuse sex, like even when he wants to refuse sex, and it's like he's already agreed to that, so he's like consenting, but then he's not. And it discusses a lot of the things that happened when he was in the regular world and like the rape, and it's very nuanced and interesting, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was just like such a worthwhile book. So I would recommend picking this up if you like books like that, even though I explained it horribly and rambly. I'm sorry. Ow, assault with a cute weapon. Assault with a cute weapon. I got you. I'm just trying to grab a book, please. She's a demon. Another Courtney Summers book. This was not beside the other 2. I'm sorry. Cracked up to be. Perfect girl starts drinking and failing all her classes. That's pretty much all I care to know. It's just YA. Just like contemporary. I love contemporary YA. I love her. So I'm down. This one honestly seemed like the one I was like most excited for, just based on the description. And then the next was like the one whose father committed suicide. And then she's one about zombies that I already have. And I'm like, not really my thing, but like will read because Courtney Summers. That's when you know it's a favorite author. I'm trying to grab the next book, Spleen. You're making my life difficult. I can feel the roof of your mouth. It feels dehydrated. You should drink more. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Everyone talked about this book when it came out, and for like years after it. What is this? Vicious monster. Everyone talked about this book. She struggles with social skills. There's a romance. This IT guy. Yeah, I don't know. The way everyone described this book, it sounded like something I would enjoy, but for whatever reason, it never like appealed to me, and I don't know why. Like I can't really explain why it never appealed to me, because it sounds like it should be my thing. Like all the descriptions sound like they should be like my kind of book, and for whatever reason they're not. I don't know. But I'm gonna rate it because like it sounds like it should be my kind of book, and like everyone loved it, which is kind of rare, I think. Like I want to love this. It's just like something about it I'm just like and it might just be me being pretentious and like, no, it's too popular, so I can't possibly love it, but like I should, right? Because it sounds like, I don't know, but I bought it, so there's that. And then I also got Missoula by Jon Krakauer, which is why am I reading the back like I haven't read this book? Why do I keep doing that? I don't know what I'm doing. This is one of my favorite books a few years back. My favorite books of the year. I gave it 5 stars. It's a nonfiction book about Missoula, and it's a college out in Montana. And like the rapes that happened there, because there was like a big news story about like all these rapes coming out at Missoula, and like it was like, why is there so much, like what is wrong with the rape culture here? And Jon Krakauer wrote a really long book about it, and about like different women who were involved, like women who like were raped and never told anyone, or who accused and nothing happened, or like were charged and went all the way through the trial, like all kind of like points, and people who like went through the school instead of like the justice system. And it's a really, really good book and really worthwhile and interesting, and I loved it. But yeah, it's just like really well done. Like I love Jon Krakauer in general, but like this was the book that really was like my favorite of all of them, and just like such a wonderful book. And I don't know, I'm so glad I have my own copy, because now I can like reread it. Yeah, but it is just like amazing. I guess I should finish up here. There's still so many books to haul. I'm just looking at my shelves like, why do I have so many to haul? But also I'm almost at 30 minutes, so let's just do the rest of the shelf, because that's gonna be real quick. All of these. It's a lot, but not really. I mean, it is. not a lot to talk about, because if you look at them, they're all the same series. When I was a child, when I first got into YA, I read these books. Not all of them. Again, like I said before, couldn't navigate the library system very well. But I did pick up a few of these. I'm gonna reposition because they're heavy and my leg hurts. They're literally sitting on the floor and you can still see them in the frame. That's horrifying to me. Let's put them here. And it just got dark. Thank you, son. Thank you for your help today in filming this video. I always wanted to read these books. Let's put it like that. I read a few of them, but they're the kind of books that you can't really read out of order, because it's like one where like, oh, there's a criminal going on. And then you read one that's like set like 15 books later and it's like, oh no, her father, who's long dead, his evil twin is back pretending to be him, but it might actually be her real father because they're both still alive. And it's like, what is going on? And I'm not even exaggerating. That's one of the plot lines in these books. It's called the Fearless series. They're written by Francine Pascal, who's best known for like the Sweet Valley books. This is just another one of her long-running series. This is not all of them. I actually have a bunch of them already. This is what she does all day. But this is just the rest of them. So now I own the whole series and I can actually read them. And I don't expect to love them, but like, I just always wanted to read them. And they're about a girl who was born without the fear gene. So like, I don't really understand what that means. I didn't understand what it meant when I was a child reading them. I don't think Francine Pascal really understands what it meant, but I think it comes out that she was like experimented on. She wasn't born without the fear gene, and her father, the good guy, might not actually be so good, and I don't know. But basically, she doesn't fear. She gets like a rush of adrenaline and like murders people and then like passes out because the adrenaline is too much. The more I explain these books, the worse they sound, but I swear I want to read them. I was so stoked. I've been collecting the series for the longest time, and I really wanted to collect them so they all matched. Like, I wanted these covers, you know? And for a while, I was waiting to collect them because I wanted to find all of them these colors so they would all match. Because, like, if I'm going to the effort to buy an entire, like, 40-book series, I'd like for them to match. But then I was like, these books are old. That's not going to happen, which is why I have, like, some of these white ones too, because I was like, I'd rather just have them and have them not match than like whatever. So she just sprints circles around me. It's terrifying. Yeah, I'm stoked on these books. I know, like, I'm filming it at the end of this video because I'm gonna end the video after this. I'm tired and my throat hurts. My voice is going. I don't normally just sit here and talk for an hour to myself. Sometimes to the cats, but not to myself. And it's not, like, constant like this has been. And this is already, like, more than an hour long. I mean, editing it won't be that long, ideally. But at the moment... Are you calming down finally? But I'm super stoked for these books. Like, I know my energy levels seem low, but like, I was collecting these for so long and I feel so accomplished that I have them all and I have the full set and like, I can read them, and I probably won't for a really long time. But honestly, having them is just like most of the battle to me, and it makes me feel so good and it like warms my heart. So yes, that concludes this video. I don't know how many books I have, but I've discussed today. Probably not half of them, which is a bad sign for the next video, because I don't think I have enough for like 3 videos, so the next one's just gonna be long. Lovely. But progress has been made. I filmed the first half of this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these books, if you've read any of them, if I don't know what to say. Preview for the next haul on my shelves behind me, if you care. We'll be filming that part and posting it probably a couple of weeks after I post this one, because I'm just waiting. I made a book order. Oops. So I have 7 more books that are coming, and I will probably film it as soon as I have time after those books come, which normally I have time like once a week to film. So I'm trying. I'm trying to catch up on all the videos I have to film and all my old Goodreads reviews and everything I have to do. But for now, I'm gonna go play with the demon child who's sprinting around at top speed. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.